The ground shakes under me before I even open my eyes. Dust falls from the broken ceiling, and I know before I move that something has gone wrong. My name is Elena, and 9 seconds ago, I was asleep in a supply tunnel 200 miles from home. Now I am awake, and the world above me is on fire. I push myself up on one arm. My leg screams at me, and when I look down, I see the reason why. It is bent in a way legs are not supposed to bend. I do not have time to think about that. The tunnel is collapsing behind me, and the only way out is forward, into whatever caused the explosion in the first place. I crawl. There is no other word for it. My hands find the broken rock, and I pull myself along it inch by inch, because standing is not an option, and waiting is not either. Somewhere far behind me, a support beam gives way with a sound like thunder, and the tunnel I just left disappears in a wall of dust. I keep moving. My comm unit is dead, smashed sometime during the fall that broke my leg. I do not know how long I have been unconscious. I do not know if my squad made it out. I do not know if the outpost still stands. All I know is that I told someone I would come back, and that promise is the only thing pulling me forward right now. Her name is Static. She is small, with 6 legs and fur that crackles faintly when she is scared, and right now, somewhere behind enemy lines, she is sitting by a door, waiting for me. I found her half-starved in a wrecked convoy 6 months ago, and she looked at me the way nobody had looked at me in a long time, like I was the only steady thing left in a world that kept shifting under her feet. I am not going to let her sit at that door forever. The tunnel opens into a ravine, and the sky above me is the wrong color, orange and gray where it should be blue. Smoke rises from the ridge to the east, where the outpost sits. That smoke tells me everything I need to know about how bad the raid became after I went down. I hear engines. Not the deep hum of our own transports, but the sharp whine of Raider scout craft, cutting low over the ravine. I press myself against the rock wall and stop breathing. The craft passes close enough that I feel the heat of its engine on my skin, and then it is gone, angling toward the outpost. I have maybe 6 hours of daylight left, and 30 miles of hostile ground between me and home. My leg will not carry that distance. I know this. I decide not to care. I tear a strip from my jacket and bind the leg as tight as I can stand, using a piece of scrap metal as a splint. The pain is a bright, clean thing, almost helpful, because it keeps my mind sharp when everything else in me wants to shut down. I start moving again, using a length of pipe as a crutch, and I count my steps, because counting is easier than thinking about how far 30 miles actually is. By the second hour, the sun has shifted, and I have found a Raider supply cache hidden under a rock shelf. I do not touch their weapons. I take only what I need: a canteen of water, a length of rope, and a small device that looks like a comm relay. My hands are shaking as I open it up, not from fear, but from the effort of staying upright. Inside, the wiring is strange, alien, nothing like our own systems. But wiring is wiring, and I have spent enough years fixing broken things to understand the shape of a signal, even when I do not understand the language it speaks. It takes me 40 minutes to rebuild something that might work. My leg has gone numb, which worries me more than the pain did. Numb means something is wrong in a deeper way. I ignore it, because there is nothing else to do, and I press the switch. Static crackles through the speaker, and for one terrible second, I think I have failed. Then a voice breaks through, thin and far away. A young soldier named Callum from the outpost's communications team. He says my name like he does not believe it is really me. I tell him where I am, roughly, and that I am alive, and that I am coming home. He tells me to stay put, that a retrieval team will come. I tell him no. I tell him the retrieval team will not reach me before nightfall, and nightfall in Raider territory is not something either of us wants to explain to command. I tell him to keep the line open instead, so I am not walking alone, and he agrees, because Callum has never once told me no in the 2 years I have known him. The third hour is the hardest. The ground rises into a series of low hills, and my leg has started to swell against the splint. I talk to Callum the whole way, not because I need conversation, but because the sound of another voice keeps my mind from drifting toward the parts of my body that are failing. He tells me the outpost held. He tells me 6 of my squad made it back. He does not tell me about the other 5 right away, and when he finally does, his voice cracks in the middle of the sentence, and I let him have the silence that follows, because some things do not need words layered on top of them. I ask about static. Callum laughs, a short, surprised sound, like he cannot believe I am asking about an animal in the middle of all this. He tells me she has not eaten in 2 days. He tells me she carries an old stuffed bear from my footlocker to the barracks door every night, and sits there until someone makes her come back to the nest. He tells me the whole outpost has started checking on her without being asked, because watching her wait has become the only hope anyone has left to hold on to. That is when I stop feeling my leg entirely, and start feeling something else instead, something with teeth in it, something that will not let me sit down and rest even when every part of my body is begging me to. The 4th hour brings raiders. I hear them before I see them, boots on gravel, low voices in a language I do not know but recognize the rhythm of a patrol that has not yet noticed anything wrong. I drop into a shallow gully and press the comm unit against my chest to muffle the sound, and I stop breathing again, the 2nd time today, and I wait. They pass 20 feet away. One of them stops, and for a moment, I am certain I have been found. Certain that 30 miles of effort ends here, in a gully with my leg broken and my hands empty. Then he moves on, following the others, and the sound of boots fades into the hills, and I let myself breathe again, slow and shaking. I do not move for 10 full minutes after that. When I finally do, my hands will not stop trembling, and it takes real effort to make them work the makeshift crutch again. Callum's voice comes back through the comm, quiet, asking if I am still there. I tell him yes. I do not tell him how close it was. Some things are mine to carry alone. The 5th hour is when the hills finally start sloping downward, toward the valley where the outpost sits, and I see the lights of home flickering through the smoke like something out of a dream I am not sure I am allowed to have yet. My leg has stopped being numb, and started being something worse. A deep, grinding ache that tells me the bone has shifted again. I do not stop. Stopping now, this close, would be its own kind of failure, and I have not carried myself this far to fail in the last mile. I cross the perimeter fence just as the sun touches the ridge behind me, and the first person who sees me is a young guard named Priya, who drops her rifle and shouts my name loud enough that half the outpost hears it. Hands reach for me, careful and urgent, and someone is already calling for a medic, and I am talking, telling them I am fine, telling them to let me walk the rest of the way myself, because there is one door I need to reach on my own 2 feet, even if one of them barely works. They let me. I do not know why, except that maybe they understand, in the way that people who have almost lost someone often do, that some final steps are not about strength, they are about finishing what you started. The barracks door is closed when I reach it. I push it open with my good hand, and there she is, small and still, sitting exactly where Callum said she would be, the old stuffed bear held tight against her chest, like it is the only solid thing left in her world. She freezes when the door opens. For one long second, neither of us moves, and I think my heart might actually stop from the waiting. Then she drops the bear and crosses that room faster than I have ever seen her move, straight into my arms, and I go down onto the floor with her, bad leg and all, because there is nowhere else in the universe I would rather be right now than exactly here, on this ground, holding this small creature who never once stopped believing I would come back. I pick the bear back up and press it between us, and I tell her the only thing that matters, the thing I have been repeating to myself through every mile of that impossible walk. I told you I would come back for it. Outside, the outpost begins to gather, drawn by the sound of a promise finally kept, and none of them say a word, because they do not need to. They already know what this moment means. They have been watching it build for 11 long nights, one small creature at a door, refusing to stop believing, teaching an entire outpost that hope, when it is stubborn enough, has a way of becoming real.